Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Dallas from PPN in the house, everybody. So please, if you have a question for Dallas, feel free to raise your hand and I will unmute your mic at some point in this podcast. Otherwise, if you can't speak to Dallas, go ahead and write your questions underneath his picture on the wall, and I will read those also at some point in this podcast. Also, to everybody, I can't implore you enough, be careful who you listen to, who you follow, and what you're putting into your mind. A lot of great, unless you're putting all the positive stuff in there. I tell you to do that all the time. Hang on to the positives, no matter how big or small they are, but stay out of the noise. There's a lot of noise out there, a lot of doom and gloom, black pilling, division, you name it, trolls, scammers, it's out there. Be careful, everybody. We're going to have Alpha Warrior on Friday, and he's going to kind of talk a little bit about that, how we're seeing a lot of these operatives sitting in our chat rooms here or in the X spaces over there, or if people are doing lives on Facebook. They're everywhere, whether they're in your comments in the chat or they're actually coming in while you're speaking with your guests and being a disruptor. So please, everybody, be careful, because a lot of people are going to be revealed. Some of you thought may have been good, may not be so good, or some of you thought was bad, may not be so bad. So just wrap your minds around that, everybody, and just get prepared for that, because I believe we're starting to see that unfold as we speak. Also, too, everybody, if you get a random text from me or any of us out there, Dallas, SGN, Captain Kyle, Derek Johnson, any of us, we tell you it's not us. We won't randomly message you and ask you if you're ready for the scare event, finances, crypto, anything like that. If you get something like that, please report it. Let me know so I can make sure they are not here in my channels. That way I can block and report them, and you guys should do the same as well. Just please be careful, everybody. There's a new scam going around out there about giving all your RV to I don't know what it is, but I heard about it. It's like you have to sign. There's a sign up fee. You then give all your RV currency to them. It's based out of country with no regulations. Red flag right there. And they're asking you to give up all your RV, and you have to pay something to get into it. All of these are red flags, and then you have to pay $10,000 a year to partake in this program. Red flags all over that. If you guys can't see that, please use common sense. That's common sense right there, everybody. That is red flag screaming all over it. Be careful. This is the latest scam that I'm hearing about. So please, everybody, be careful of that. And if you get something like that, I would run, run, run. Okay. So again, this is why I sit in these different chats, these different rooms, and talk to different people, because this is what I'm hearing, and I'm going to bring it back to you guys, because I care about you and I do not want you to get scammed, taken for your livelihood, because unfortunately, many people have fallen for scams such as this, and they've been taken for their livelihood. And it's very scary out there with the trolls and the scammers like that, as well as the misinformation, disinformation, and the division. What people are doing to people out there. So it's just not good, everybody. I say to you right now, go over to X and go into these spaces with caution. Because there's a lot of stuff going on over there too. People getting doxxed and just people going at each other's throats. It's not a pretty thing. So please, everybody, be careful again who you listen to, who you follow, and what you're putting into your mind. Also, everybody, we are being listened to, if you haven't heard already, in over 100 countries. So if you can't listen ever live to these podcasts, you can always listen to the replays, or you can, if you come in late to this podcast, you can listen to the replays. And those are on the podcast hosts as well as the social medias, which are podcast hosts are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Podcast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. Social medias are, all three of them are verified, or excuse me, three are not verified, but every one of them are, other than these three, which are TikTok, YouTube, and then True Social. Those three of mine are not verified yet because I'm still waiting for the verification. It takes a little bit, but everything else is verified. Jenny Jareed is verified on Facebook, at Jenny underscore on X is verified, at J Jareed Rumble. Finally got my green check mark back. And then right here, the Revival of America. I don't have this verified. I'm not going to do it. I think you guys know this is my account because I come on here and talk all the time. So hello again, more common sense. So anyway, so follow any of those locations. That way you can get the latest updates on the podcast, and you can, send it to family, friends, whatever. Somebody may be trying to wake up, or just whatever, if you just want to listen to it, right? Also, too, everybody, if you have a story, a journey you would like to share, please reach out to me at the Revival of America at yahoo.com. We'll get your voices, your stories heard, because remember, everybody, it's your voices, your journeys that are going to help shape this new world that we're coming into. And then last but certainly not least, everybody, Go sign up for the newsletter. It is free. You will get the lineups of the show lineup every week, the time, the date, the guest, and then you'll also get the latest updates on the podcast. So you can listen to them over there on the website as well. So with that, everybody, without any further ado, as SGN would say, Dallas is in the house. How are you, Dallas?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh my gosh, you're very low.
Does it not sound right?
No, you normally come in really clear, but you just kind of sound a little muffled. Are you on your headpieces?
Yeah. How does that sound?
Not very good. You sound
Uh,
better without them. Let's just say that. Also, too, real quickly, everybody, while Dallas is figuring that, I wanted to let everybody know because I know many of you follow this account. Shadow of Ezra. He is going to be on my show next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, over on my X Space. So tune in for that, everybody. If you guys have questions for him, bring them because I know many of you follow his account. He's a good account. He's very well spoken, and he's a lot of common sense, right? And that's what Trump talks about, and that's what I think a lot of people need to start using is more common sense. So that'll be on Tuesday, everybody, over on X Base at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go ahead, Dallas. Let me hear you now. Mic check. Can you speak?
can you hear me now?
Oh my gosh, night and day. Hello, hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm still recovering, but I'm good. Crazy weekend in my world and had a lot of fun. Had a 25th anniversary show of my wrestling ministry.
And
Wrestled
how did
one.
that go?
It went awesome. We we sold out our building, sold every ticket we had. Standing room only. We live broadcasted it for the first time ever. Um, we had our first ever women's match. So we had two local Texas ladies compete and wrestle, opening up the door for our young kids, our kid program. We've got a bunch of really talented, women, little girls in our kids program. We want them to have somewhere to go and be safe and continue to do the thing that they love, and that's wrestle. So we had women for the first time. I ended up winning the main event, so I'm the new champion. I've never held, even though I helped start the company, I've never technically held this belt. Um, so that was a big deal. And then at the end, 11 people chose to accept Christ as their Lord and Savior. So in the end, the 11 souls that were saved were the actual prize and the victory. But it was awesome. But I'm literally just today starting to feel a little bit normal physically. It was a heck of a match. Lots of big bodies and tables and chairs and lions and tigers. Oh my! But it was fun.
Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. Do you have any pictures or any kind of video clips that you can share with me? I can share with the audience.
Um,
That's so awesome.
yeah. I mean, there's there's the gajillions.
Or where can we go find him? Is there a website maybe?
So yeah, you can go to YouTube and watch the whole show. But there's also when we're doing a bunch of shorts and recap videos. But on YouTube, it's Ephesians Pro Wrestling. It's got the EPW logo and the little icon thing. You can go to Ephesians Wrestling or EphesiansProWrestling.org is our website, and that has all of our links to all of our social media. But we have a Facebook page. If you happen to still be on Facebook, it's Ephesians Pro Wrestling. But you can watch the whole show. You can watch the recaps. You can watch the kids show from 2 weeks ago. All of our stuff is on there. But yeah, the feedback and the support. We had people watching from Ireland, Finland, the UK. I mean, we had people all over. So it was really really neat.
I'm so proud of you. That is so exciting. Well, congratulations on that. I can't wait to go check it out.
Yeah, no, it was. It's. I don't want to call it silly because I've dedicated over half of my life to it, but um, It is one of the things that I love the most. I mean, I love wrestling. I love entertaining, but more importantly, just getting to share the gospel when and change people's lives. You know, I mean, it's
That's the biggest thing right there about people getting saved. That's amazing.
yeah. So it was pretty stinking cool.
Oh, well, that's awesome. I mean, I mean, it seems kind of we're going to switch from this topic about people being saved to what do you know about the RV? I'm sorry, but that just doesn't sound right. Yeah, but I'll let you go into that however you like to.
Well, it's been kind of crazy because I mean the weekend was so full. Um, because I mean my kids are about to get out of school. My dad and his wife drove in from Nebraska to watch and be a part of the show, and not be a part of it, watch it. And so to be honest with you, in the world of RV, I'm a little bit out of the loop. I'm just now catching back up, but Trump is overseas right now in the United Emirates, and there's all kinds of talk about Turkey and Iran and um, Iraq, even getting a visit while he's over there. Last week was to the day 8 years from when he did the sword dance on the capitulation tour and all that stuff. So it really feels like things are kind of coming into position. Iraq is continuously progressing. As I say it almost every show. I don't know why they haven't gone, other, other than they are huge team players. It seems to me, but it does. Money is moving. It's moving. It's just so dang slow, right? I mean, I have confirmations. Mark Z has confirmations. Wolvie has confirmations, but um, it's just a matter. It's got to get far enough down the chain. Um, they did discover a whole lot of uh, fake Zim boxes. So what we're being presented as is full boxes of sequential Zim notes, the bonds that we carry. Um, so that's actually changed a little bit in the big scheme of things. Is that it seems like they're looking more towards those to kind of get the upper tiers of this going. So I mean, it's not to be sarcastic or again the broken record, but I mean it really does seem like it's closer today than it's ever been. I don't know what the date is. The furthest date that I've heard is July 4th being some major big kickoff thing.
Well,
I
you know,
I don't
I
think we
think
go that deep, but
Trump keeps talking about Memorial Weekend, the 26th. So I think we should watch that. I think a lot of people are saying that could kick off a lot of stuff. And then back to you, you said fake Zim boxes. So what are those bonds, fake bonds and in boxes that they found? Is that what you're trying to say?
yeah. So as always with this Zim, it gets more and more confusing, right? So they the notes that we have, the 2008, 2009, double A and AB, 100 trillion, 50 trillion, 10 trillion notes. Those are technically bonds. It's bond paper. It's written as a bond. It says pay to the order of, but they have a bunch of different boxes of bonds. And so none of us have boxes, right? Some of us might have more than others, but I was told that there are 40,000 notes in a box of bonds, of the bonds like we have. And if you have all 40,000, they're all sequential, they've been verified, they've been vetted, they've been, proved genuine, then those are worth X billions of dollars, right? But they've had a whole bunch of those boxes that have been presented as full, complete, sequential boxes, and those have been found to be counterfeit.
Oh,
So
wow.
it has kind of disrupted the system at the highest levels, because the people turning those in, they don't have, I looked at Zim Notes the other day, and on the one side I was on was selling 100 T-note for like $600. The cheapest that I found on that particular site was 400. It was like 399 or something. I paid anywhere from 150 to 250 for mine. How all those years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago. But apparently that the counterfeit side of it has reared its head on the highest levels of this. But they found them, and they discovered them, and but now they're kind of pushing the Zims farther up the ladder. As far as we talk about the baskets of currency, and everybody always debates is the Bolivar in the first basket. I still think so. I mean, I think there's a good chance it is, but the Zim, always goes in and out of that discussion. Well, from what I'm being told, the Zim is rapidly moving its way up the desired currency list, because the elders and the powers that be that are ultimately funding this transformation have recognized that they need more liquidity in that realm. And so I think that it does nothing but bode positively for us, because we don't hold, I definitely don't have 40,000 of them, but I don't have 1,000, I mean, I have a handful, but I think it bodes well for us, those of us that do possess them, because it's pushing it up the ladder. So I think it's, definitely going to be in the top 3 or 4. But other than that, I'm looking for an update this afternoon, but things are moving forward. It's just really, really slow. And I wish I had more definitive, proof and evidence to share with you, but I don't. It's pretty hush hush at the top, at the highest levels, which is frustrating to us, but it's also positive, because the quieter it gets, the deeper they're getting into it, from my perspective. And I think all in all, down the road, it bodes well for us. I was really, really hoping that they were going to get things squared away by the end of last month. Obviously, that didn't take place, but there's so much at the end of this month and going into June and July that are so pivotal for our world and for our country specifically. And Trump has big plans, and I mean, you can't have a year-long global celebration if nobody can afford to go to the global event. So there's got to be a
Yeah.
break somewhere. It's either got to come from the Doge checks or the straw man accounts or the currency exchange. Somewhere there has to be an influx in revenue and cash flow in order for that to even be a thing. Because how lame would it be to throw this big, huge party, spend all these, I don't know what the dollar tag is, but I'm guessing billions, if not trillions of dollars, basically recreating the World's Fair, but not in one city, like all over the United States. Well, how do you do that if you don't flood the system with liquidity? So I'm real optimistic about the next,
And real
couple of days to couple of weeks.
and real quickly, that kickoff for that celebration is this Memorial weekend, correct?
Yeah, it's next Friday, I believe, right?
Yep. I keep hearing the 26 number. So everybody pay attention to that. So, again, nobody knows dates. They're always an epic fail, but Trump keeps talking about Memorial Weekend. So let's watch and see. So, okay. So everybody, if you guys have a question for Dallas, please feel free to raise your hand. I have unmuted a couple mics here. There are a couple questions on the wall, Dallas. So real quickly, here's one from Lori Betty. Hi, Dallas. What are your thoughts that the RV will go before the Arab Summit on the 17th?
I mean, that's really, really close, but
Yeah.
I think there's a possibility. I'm not particularly holding my breath for then. I'm more looking towards the end of next week, but I mean, we're talking about the 16th is Monday, I think, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, wait, hold on. No, wait. Let me see. Is it Monday? No, I think that's the 19th, right? The 19th
okay,
is Monday. So the
yeah, sorry.
17th is this Saturday.
Okay. So could it? Absolutely. I don't know that to be a fact, but there's definitely a whole lot going on with Trump over in that region of the world. And I think, every day they're closing more deals. He's still launching executive orders, even though he's out of the country. And people are being held accountable. I mean, every day we're reading about judges and political figures and governors and mayors getting arrested for child trafficking and pornography. And a year ago, we never, we always talked about it, but we rarely saw people being held accountable. And now it's happening at the highest levels. You got the P. Diddy case going on right now, and they're just, they're naming and exposing people left and right. And it's all pointing towards Epstein. So, I think it's just all kind of culminating at one time.
Thank you, Dallas. Okay, here's another one for you from Renee. Question. I assume if you can still buy currency, the RV has not happened yet, right?
That is a brilliant assumption.
Thank you, Renee. Okay, Heidi, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Dallas your question. Go ahead, Heidi. Your mic is unmuted. Hit the blue button in the middle of your screen. All right, you guys, please, if you request a mic, come up and ask your question because Dallas typically gives us 90 minutes of his time. So I'm going to call on you one more time, Heidi. Go ahead, Heidi. Your mic is unmuted if you have a question. Otherwise, Nick the Sovereign, go ahead. Go ahead, Nick. Nick the Sovereign, you come in and you ask for a mic all the time. Do you have a question for Dallas? But you don't say anything. Okay. All right. Now these guys want to say anything, so I'm going to mute him back down. Sorry, Dallas.
You're good.
So anyway, so let's talk about this 1 year celebration. So it's going to go for a year long. There's going to be all kinds of world fairs, and people coming from all different parts of the world to see different, I'm assuming, technologies, patents, like the 6,000 patents. What do you think this world fair is going to, I mean, obviously it's going to do a lot of stuff, but what do you think it's going to be? How do you envision it? There you go. That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, I envision it as being the soft launch or the hard launch, I guess, depending on how you look at it, on all of this technology. So I think we're going to see, things come out on the technology side as far as energy, free energy, Ravitic energy, 0 point, gravitation, the med beds, hopefully, I mean, that's one of the things that I keep getting, positive updates about is the med beds, and that they're ready, they're distributed, they're just waiting for the launch, just like everything else. And there's so many people hurting and so many people struggling right now that I think that would be a huge lift to the global spirit. What are the replicators, right? So, they're going to start off huge in the beginning. No, I don't think so, possibly, but I think we're going to start seeing some of that technology be brought to the forefront, where, you say, it's almost like Star Trek, you go up to the little box and say, I would like a Granny Smith apple. And then it takes the molecules from the air and it produces the apple, which is the cleanest, most organic version of an apple. And when you're done, you throw the core away or whatever, or you throw the trash away, and it just puts it back into the system. I think we're going to see that kind of stuff. And I think it's just, what better way to get all this stuff out in the front of the people than to have an open forum where any scientist in the world can bring their technology and show it off. And it's not Trump launching it. It's not the United States government, necessarily launching it. It's just the people that have been suppressed. I mean, there have been just in the last 6 years, there have been something like 8 or 9 inventors that have created hydrogen or water-based engines that can go hundreds of miles on a gallon of water, or hundreds of miles on just hydrogen itself. And somehow every time those guys go to the patent office to sign the patents, they die in a spontaneous car wreck on the way to the patent office, or they drop dead of a heart attack as they're walking through the front doors. Those people are being killed systematically to suppress this information. But it's no longer suppressed. I mean, people are figuring out how to do this, and the internet is a great thing because you can you can figure out how to do just about anything on the internet, include build a hydrogen machine or a hydrogen engine or an oxygen based engine. So I think that the World Fair or the celebration could be the perfect cover to release this information, this technology, and it not, because Trump has said it. He could come out with a cure for cancer, and the Democrats would boo him and sit on their hands and fight him at every turn. So if he just launches it all out to the open, then it's not really Trump doing it, right? I mean, Trump is hosting it, but it's not him saying, "Oh, this is the technology that I'm releasing." So I think it could be very, very positive. But again, if none of us have any extra cash to go to these events, even if it's free, how do you get there? You know what I mean? So I think there has to be a liquidity event that coincides with the announcement, or at least the beginning phase of it. I don't know what phase one is. I don't know when it kicks off or how, but if people are going to go to it, we got to have money to get there.
That's awesome. Okay, okay. So, do you think Elon Musk is gonna unleash his Optimus robots over there as part of the showing off what potentially we're gonna have in the near future? He was talking about those, by the way, yesterday over there in Saudi Arabia about his Optimus robots and how it would be kind of like, Star Wars. Who wouldn't want the R2D2 and CP3O as being their like little, house companions, or I don't know, whatever you want to call them. I thought that was pretty interesting. Do you think we might see that at the World Fair?
I think yes. I mean, most definitely. I'm not a huge fan of that stuff because I've watched all the Terminator and the Matrix movies, but
Yeah,
uh,
me either.
but it exists. I mean, it's already out there. They're already using autonomous dogs. Um, Kawasaki or Honda, one of the motorcycle
Oh, yes. Did you?
manufacturers, made an electric horse bike
Yep,
that,
yep.
that can go for hundreds of miles. Go top speed is like 100 miles an hour. It can lift like 10,000 pounds. I saw another one that's like a hover motorcycle or like a hover bike. It's really compressed. I mean, it looks like, have you seen those like unicycles? That's like the one wheel, you lean forward, it goes forward, you lean,
Yeah.
it stops. I mean, that's about the size of the thing. But the videos I've seen is flying around. So either that's CGI or that exists, So I think flying cars, um, or some version of hovering cars or flying cars. I think those are already, if not in production, they're ready to be produced. So I think it's just, I'm excited, but at the same time, we're all doing the best we can. I'm working my humanitarian project the best I can. The problem is that we're working on a shoestring budget. We're doing awesome work, and we're really getting the message out. We're touching more and more people live and in person, but also digitally. But literally, we're doing it on a shoestring budget. I mean, our rent's due for our building on the first of each month. Well, the first of May, we didn't have money in there to pay rent. We wrote the check. Thank God it took them a couple of days to get it and cash it. But we're barely scraping by, just like everybody else is. And if we just had just a little bit of liquidity, then oh my gosh, like we're off to the races. And so many people are out there that just need, just a little. They don't need billions and billions of dollars. They just need a little bit of money in the bank. So I'm hoping that
Well,
the powers that be pull that switch or push that button sooner than later.
Well, and what Trump is doing over there in the Middle East, everybody, is huge. And what he's doing in his speech yesterday regarding the financial world that he had with the American flag and the Saudi Arabia flag, and they played the YMCA song at the end, that just shows you who's in control, for one. Two, what he's doing over there, everybody, and what he's doing in general with his big announcement on Monday that I'll talk about here in a second, is putting us all on an even playing field. And, Musk was saying yesterday, he was even talking about how everybody's going to come with, he's talking about this universal income. He's like, I don't think it's going to be a universal income. I think it's going to be a universal huge income. So basically, they're kind of telling us, and this whole thing with this executive order that he signed for the big pharma and the the medicines with the high pricing of the medicines, so many people were deflated because they thought it was going to be something more on a grandeur scale, right? If you don't realize how big this is, please do your research. Don't be deflated. This thing is huge. Rob Cunningham just spoke about it in depth over there on my show before. Dallas here over on X. It is basically right in front of our noses. Everybody taking down big pharma, taking down the media, taking down the banks, because who does the media get their money from? Big pharma with all these ads. Guess what? These ads, Kennedy's talking about these ads going away. You know, these ads that give you all these, excuse my language, fucked up side effects and possibly death. No, yeah, we don't need to have that on our TVs. Like, I know, I said this to my parents, like, who the hell's gonna possibly death? I'm like, what? I mean, we've been hearing this for years, right? But this is huge, everybody. And those inflated prices that we, the United States, were the only ones that got those, that was so they could launder their money through
Yep.
this big pharma for their nefarious shit. So this is a huge, huge thing, everybody. It's literally taking down the whole medical.
Whoop. Did we lose you?
Behind it.
Okay.
No, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Am I rubber banding?
No, you went out. You just went
What
silent for
part
a
of
few minutes.
which? Okay, did you hear all of it, or where did I leave off?
Just the last like 30 seconds about taking down big pharma and leveling the playing field.
Yes, taking down big pharma, the media, and the banks are right there behind it. So everybody, this thing that Trump did on Monday, this executive order, it was huge, and it was huge on a global level because the deep state is global, right? And they're nefarious everywhere, and they launder their money everywhere. So it was huge, everybody. So there you go.
Because think about where the big pharma headquarters are. They're not in the United States anymore. They're all in China.
Yep.
And other, India. So yeah, you're right. And I wanted to hear the gold back standard. That's what I wanted to hear, because I think that's the last major announcement that we're waiting for. But you're right. I think the trade deal and the pharmaceutical thing, because big pharma literally owns everything. I mean, they control everything. They are when we talk about like the 13 bloodline families. Well, guess what they all own? they all own oil, and they all own big pharma, and they've been pumping petroleum products into us for 60 years by destroying nutraceuticals and natural remedies and supplements. It's those are the families. Those are the families that own big pharma, and those are the families that want to depopulate the world. Those are the families that want to maintain the control that they've had for decades, if not a century or more, in the United States directly. But they've been in charge and in power for thousands of years. But
Yeah, for sure.
But it's definitely taking them down. And once we kick those commercials off, I mean, mainstream media dies as soon as RFK makes it illegal to broadcast pharma commercials. We're one of two countries, us and then right off the edge of Australia, New Zealand. The United States and New Zealand are the only countries in the world that allow pharma to publicly advertise in any capacity. Everywhere else, it's got to be, an approved, spot in a newspaper where they physically list all the side effects, and it's not, some dude talking a million miles an hour. So it's definitely coming.
And and I also do everybody, I think that this isn't over yet. I think this is just the start of more things to come. I think what happened Monday with, the announcement, the executive order being signed, him going over to the Middle East, and what we're seeing transpire over there, it's just a continual, everybody. It's a boom, 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 boom. I had a list of everything he did within the last 48 hours, a couple days ago when he left. Like, this man is a national treasure, everybody. Donald J. Trump is a national treasure. He is kicking butt. He is making promises, and he is delivering on these, everybody. So just pay attention. I do believe that what he has been doing and continues to do is just coming into where we're going, right? So I think what happened with his executive order with Big Pharma on Monday, well, it's huge, and I do believe there's more coming here within, because I think he's going to be over there in the Middle East until like the 22nd. I think it was like 13 days or something like that. So
Yep.
keep your heads high, everybody. It's not over yet. I mean, we are closer than ever, but watch Trump, because he's making some serious moves to get us on that even playing field, and get us what everybody is looking for, and hopefully that's the RV. So, all right, grandmother of five, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hello, hello. Um,
Hello.
I just, how do y'all think all of this is going to play out? What I mean, for it to end up being brought to light. I'm talking about the whole story. How do you think they're going to, are they going to come out and tell everything? Or, because I mean, if they don't, there's some people that are not going to ever understand this stuff, and they're not going to believe, they're not going to know what to think. So how do y'all think it's all going to end up coming out, and people, for them to tell people what exactly all has taken place and how we've been lied to for years and years? I mean, are they going to do that? And I mean, I
Well,
actually want to see people handcuffed.
Well, okay, so arrests are already happening, and we will be seeing that come into fruition. Juan has said it many times, and he's coming out telling you, people that are saying that nothing's happening, no arrests are happening, they are happening, just because you aren't seeing it. Dan Bongino said it as well. I mean, we're seeing the judges and everything; they are happening in front of us. I mean, Epstein, Diddy, Ghislaine Maxwell; those were three of the biggest arrests that we've ever seen. They're going to tie everything into everything, right? So those are the three biggest ones, I think, and those are huge. But it depends on what you're talking about specifically. How is this all going to come out?
About,
Well, hold on a second, grandmother five.
okay.
When it comes to the children, I don't believe that they're going to come out and show all of that, because we all know those rabbit holes. Once you see, you can't unsee it, right? I do believe that they're going to talk about it and things like that. It just all kind of depends on what exactly you're looking for and how it all to play out, because there's so much to this that they can't show it all to us. A lot of it's going to be part of our new history that we're going to learn. And yeah, we're going to be told that we were lied to. And for those people that don't get it, I mean, they're going to probably have to be those people that are going to have to be in the cycle for a long time till it finally gets into their head, because they've been so, I mean, no offense, well, kind of offense, but the libtards out there, look at them. They are so in the trenches of just thinking Biden was great. He was the best president ever. Like I hear that kind of stuff, and I cringe, because I'm like, those are the kind of people that may never wake up.
Well, I mean, all the politicians, all the wrongdoing of the politicians, how are they going to explain the reduction in the government? Like they say we're only going to end up with like 10% of the government that we've got right now. But it's just been so much wrongdoing, the killings, the Hillary and them taking out people, all of it, Jenny. I just, people, yeah, I realize what's going on because I stay up to date with everything and go down those rabbit holes. But people don't, well, some people just don't have enough sense to connect the dots.
Well,
Well, go ahead, Dallas.
no, go ahead, Jenny.
No, go ahead. I'll go after you.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, again, I'm not the Q post guy, but I do have a pretty good memory when I hear people walk through the Q posts and explain them and like tie them together and things like that. But Q said the ending wasn't for everyone, and I believe that wholeheartedly. And I've said it openly on this show that I think one of the biggest groups that are going to lose their mind are the what I call the pseudo Christians, right? The people that claim to be Christian but don't go to church, don't read their Bible, don't spend time with God, don't have a personal, intimate relationship with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Those people are going to absolutely lose their mind when the truth about the Catholic Church is finally revealed. With the sitting of the newest pope within 17 days exactly from the death announcement of the old pope. I mean, come on. The reality of just the extent of the lies. I think that's one segment that are just they're going to close their ears, they're going to cover their eyes, they're going to stick their heads so deep in the sand that they're never going to come back up. There's going to be a whole other group. I worry about my family, to be honest with you. My mom and my aunt, my sister, they are so dyed in the wool, Democrat, liberal, QB, all the weird genders and all that stuff. They may not make it. When the real truth is revealed, they might just kill over. They might just have a heart attack or a stroke and just not wake up, and that sucks. I mean, for me personally, that would
That's
be terrible.
reality.
But I interact just like Jenny does. I interact all the time with people that it doesn't matter what proof I show them. I can show them documentation from government websites. Like, if you're okay, cool. You don't trust, the Real Raw News and some of those, distribution things that we get a lot of information from. But even I say, I mean, I believe about 10% of what I read on that particular site, but I believe a lot of it is true. But it doesn't matter if you show them like actual government documents, government websites, the QFS government website, the Strawman account. If you talk about Warren Buffett, saying a week ago to get out of the stock market, and if you're really smart, you'd buy as many foreign currencies as possible because that's where the real wealth is going to come from. That was a direct quote from Warren Buffett, one of, considered to be one of the greatest investors of our modern age. And he said last week, get out of the stock market and buy foreign currencies. When did you ever imagine you'd hear somebody of influence saying that? Because he's not a Republican, you know what I mean? But people just don't want to hear the truth. I agree. I don't think they're going to show all the frazzle drip videos and all that stuff because I've seen clips and I can't get the little visions that the little clips that I've seen. Those will never leave my brain ever. And I didn't even see the worst of it. I just saw little pieces that that I people shared with me because I'm not a dark web guy. I'm not an internet guy. So I'm definitely not going to mess around on the dark web because I guarantee that would end poorly for me somehow just by accident. But I do think it's going to be exposed. Is there going to be an EBS? Is there going to be 10 days of media blackout and 8-hour videos? I sure hope so, because I think that would be, one, nobody can get away from that. And two, it would force people to just sit and view the truth from a lens and from a perspective that they've never even contemplated. But I just don't know. Again, if it was me, I would have pushed the button years and years and years ago, probably caused a civil war. But we would probably be done with that by now,
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of people that just refuse to wake up and refuse to see the truth. The MK Ultra and the cognitive dissonance that exists in our world today, specifically in the United States, is jaw-dropping. Because most of this with the internet, you can go look up Project Paperclip, and you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to start reading through that stuff and go, whoa, what do you mean they brought all the German Nazi doctors over here and put them in our highest education colleges and shaped and directed the last 3 generations of Americans into believing that abortion was an acceptable form of birth control, and that being all kinds of different genders and sexual orientations, I mean, there's a huge population that are trying to justify MAMBLA, right? Minor attracted men or whatever, boys. I mean, there are people that are trying to make that not a sexual deviancy, but a sexual preference, right? Just like I prefer, blonde haired, tan skin, women, that's what my wife looks like, but they're trying to make that a preference as opposed to an affliction or a disease. Um, those people are never going to wake up to the reality of the truth, and I've told stories about my teacher friend that lives down the street that came to me and said that she met one of my conspiracy buddies was talking about the child trafficking, and she was like, "That's not real," and I was like, "Oh, contraire."
Oh,
you know
wow.
you're a teacher. How many students in the last year disappeared from your school, and nobody knows where they went? Nobody has a forwarding address. Nobody, nobody's even verified that the family's left, but the kid just disappeared. And she started thinking about it, and she was, and then she like had the realization that she could probably think of 20. And I was like, you're one person in one small school district in the state of Texas. Do you not think that that is happening in every school district and every school system across this country? That every year, every single teacher could probably think of 10, 15, or 20 students that have just disappeared with no forwarding information, no, oh, we moved to this city and this town and we registered in this school. Multiply that by how many teachers are in the United States. That's hundreds of thousands of kids. This is a real thing. It's verifiable. It's provable through government statistics and government websites. And I'm not saying that I trust everything the government puts out, but when I'm arguing my case against people that don't believe, those are the websites I use because that's the people they do believe in. That's the people they do trust. And you go to the VAERS website and look up all the adverse reactions to the shots and all of the myocarditis going up by 12,000% in the last 4 years, and infant death syndrome skyrocketing in the last decade because they've added 25 more shots to the schedule for children. Those are government websites. You can't, if you don't trust me, that's fine. You trust the government. Well, your own government's telling you that they've been lying to you and that that they're actively killing people with these shots. But
Did I answer your question, Grandma of the Five? Grandmother of Five?
Oh yeah, I mean, it just, I can say, when something happens, even though it's not per se the way you think it would be, but yet it ties into it and you can see things happening. But other people, I'm talking to people all the time, and they're like, "Well, I don't know. I don't see nothing happening," and I'm like, "Dang." And I've told my sister many a time. Of course, I'm about to turn 70. And but I am so thankful that my mother is not living for us to explain to her what is going on, because she would have never understood all of this. Never.
well,
And
and I think another way to look at it is to just look at how you woke up, right? I mean, we all woke up at different times and different phases, and different things opened our eyes. But all of us have been MK Ultra. All of us have been mind controlled. All of us were taught cognitive dissonance all through high school or school, high school specifically in college. But we all woke up our own way in our own time. But if you'd have tried to tell us any of this stuff, 2 years or 5 years before we woke up, we would have looked at you and said, "You're crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist."
well, I
It's
mean, I've got people telling me every day I'm crazy. But, to me, I don't care unless you
but
put
I
in
my
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 bill.
point is if you can go back into your own brain
Oh,
2 or
yeah.
3 years before you learned, the truth, and somebody tried to come and tell you all this stuff, you would have looked at me and said, "Dallas, you're a nut job. You're crazy. There's no way the government's trying to kill us. There's no way the Clintons are, huge dirt bags that have killed 50 to 60 people. You know, um, there's no way that the United States orchestrated 9/11. I have a friend that was at the oh, what's the place in Quantico? Um, no, the Pentagon. Wow. Oh man, my brain went hardcore sleep there for a second. But I mean, I have a good friend that has been a part of my ministry that was in the Army, and he was at the Pentagon doing the cleanup. And and he's big. I mean, he's 6'9", 350 pounds. He's much bigger than I am. And if he wanted to, he could probably pound me into the ground. But he and I have had pretty heated debates about what really happened on the Pentagon, because he brought pieces of metal out with human flesh melted to it. You know, I mean, he saw carnage and wreckage, and you can't convince him otherwise. I sent him the video of the Scud missile hitting the side of the building, and he wrote back within seconds and said, "That's CGI. That's made up. A plane hit that building." And and then I sent him a video that, in my opinion, is irrefutable, that a plane could not have landed or could not have hit the building. The plane that size could not have flown the path that they say it flew and hit that building without huge engine, divots being carved out of the ground from the plane, the engines of the plane. And he just won't see it because he was there and he saw carnage and he saw dead bodies and he saw, destruction, and you just can't convince him. I don't know how to argue with that. I just go, okay, well, we agree to disagree, but it's not where you were told. You were in the Army and they lied straight to your face, but you're going to have to figure that out on your own,
Thank you, Dallas. Okay, Patriot Guy, your mic is
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. So my question is kind of off topic, but it's kind of like obvious to everybody, and I just want his take on it all. For the last 50 years, why, everything's supposed to be constitutional, and every state has their own constitutions and laws and things that they abide by. But why have we been able to blind ourselves and allow states like Las Vegas to allow money gambling and money laundering and prostitution and all that stuff, as well as states like Nevada that legalize prostitution and all this other crap? Why haven't those topics been in the news? And why isn't Doge taking care of all that? And why don't we ever hear President Trump talking about those filthy cities? That was my question.
Yeah, I don't know if I can speak to why Trump hasn't directly referenced it, but
well, I don't necessarily mean Trump.
well,
I just mean like it's never a topic. Is it just because it's such a big, tourist attraction? Why can't we get rid of that shit?
Well, I mean that you just answered your own question. Money.
It is money, but there's got to be a stop to it eventually, right?
Correct. And I think that's what we're seeing with Doge. Have you noticed how Doge has completely fallen out of the limelight in the last 2 weeks?
Yes.
Well,
yeah, definitely.
I think that's on purpose, because they went in. It's kind of like when Trump talked about hydroxychloroquine, right? This COVID lie came out, was propagated all over all over the world. We all knew where it came from. I mean, there's not one of us on this call right now, out of the 200 or 335 people on this call, there's not one of us that didn't know that came from Wuhan, right? I mean, we all knew where it came from. We all knew what it was. We all knew that the shots were going to be garbage. But now the media is just now saying, oh my gosh, politicians are getting up there and saying, well, there's all this data that shows that, this was this and that was that. And well, okay, well, I knew that 5 years ago. How am I smarter than you are? But it's money. Money is the driver of all of those decisions. The gambling, the prostitution, the legalization of even marijuana. I'm not particularly anti-marijuana, but I don't particularly. I don't have good.
You cut out a little.
Oh, we lost you, Dallas. Where'd you go?
I was just gonna say, the only thing I agree with.
Oh, there you are, Dallas. Hang on, Patriot Guy. Go ahead, Dallas. Go ahead, Dallas.
No, well, I was just gonna say money, right? I mean, it's money, corruption, and that was the plan. The plan was to take good people that wanted to do the right thing, and then you get them corrupted. That's the whole P. Diddy and Epstein thing. Every major politician in the world has been, honeypotted one way or the other, unless they just simply don't go out. Like the only way you don't get honeypotted is if you never go to a big wig party. But you can't, because you got to go raise money, right? Because our government system is based on money. One of my good friends, Trina, her son just ran for the school board, a position on the school board, and he got a lot of votes, but he disrupted the system, and so the state went full bore in supporting the incumbent candidate, so they could keep the vote, and that nobody could come in and disrupt the system, because the reality is school boards control property taxes, and that's what nobody knows, or very few know. Every year your property taxes go up. That's because the school board is telling the appraisers to raise property taxes, and they take these bonds and they triple dip the bonds, and they pad their pockets. But it's corrupt all the way down to the school board level, and money is what corrupted the whole system. So I think Doge is, that's where I was going with the hydroxychloroquine. It came out, and Trump came out and said hydroxychloroquine. And then they immediately, when I say they, big pharma and mainstream media immediately bastardized hydroxychloroquine, so much so that they stopped producing it and stopped distributing it in the United States. They didn't stop anywhere else in the world, but they stopped in the United States. They came out with Doge, and they showed all the corruption and all the fraud and all the money laundering, and the Dems and the public at large freaked out because they were going to destroy Social Security and Medicaid. That's the one thing they're trying to save. But mainstream media and big pharma and the powers that be took what was positive and absolutely corrupted it in the eyes of the general public. So I think Doge has gone underground. They're still working their tails off, and they're finding trillions of dollars of fraud and waste and money laundering. But why would Musk? I mean, Jenny said it at the very beginning of the broadcast. Why would Musk say, I don't think it's going to be, universal income. I think it's going to be a huge shift of financial freedom to everyone. Well, that screams straw man account to me. That screams all the money that's been stolen from us through payroll taxes, specifically income tax. That's all coming back to us, is what I read in that. So I think Doge has gone underground just to get their job done and to find the deepest roots, because they were announcing everything they were doing. Well, that was just setting up the bad guys to go cover their tracks. They tried to go into whatever building they went into. They blocked him for 24 hours, and they destroyed like 27 terabytes of information. Now, the cool thing about the internet is you can't destroy anything. Once it's on the web, or once it's in the system, it's always there. You can always recover it. But they sure tried. And so I think Doge has gone underground, because they're not telling people their next move like they were. But I think it's just, I think it's still just a little matter of time before all that gets brought to the forefront.
Also, to Dallas, isn't Elon supposed to be stepping down? Isn't his part supposed to be done at the end of May?
Well, originally, but I thought he said a week or two ago that he wasn't going to step down. That he was
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
didn't hear that. Okay, cool. Thank you for the clarification.
I
Thank you,
just had-
Patriot Guy.
I just had one more question or comment, actually. And
Okay.
it's kind of helpful. It's kind of helpful for people that don't understand corruption and money laundering all the way down to even just like the little town level. If they ever get a chance, and I don't know what their preferences are on anything, but if they get on Netflix and watch the series Ozark, you will find the deep state playbook of every little town, every little county, every little city, everywhere in the United States. They basically show you the playbook of corruption they use to take over every area and aspect of our lives in that series. So if they haven't seen it, they should see it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Thank you, Patriot Guy.
Yep, thanks a
Okay.
lot.
Thank you. All right, Rusty Brown, I don't see you here anymore. Okay, so Amy Wise, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to hear people that believe what I believe. I'm in a house full of people that say, get out of this house because they think I'm nuts. In fact, just the other day, my husband said, I want to see a little bit of proof of what you're telling me, even though I have shown him, government documents and things like that. He said, this is ruining our marriage. That just killed me because I don't bring it up. I don't bring it up anymore because I know how upset he gets. But he knows I'm listening. And I said, but that's the only way I can live because I know that it's happening, but I don't see it right here in my little town in Ohio. It's nothing. You don't see anything going on here because it's nothing ever does. But I feel it in my bones. I feel God all around me telling me all this. Just I feel it. I can't explain it, but a lot of it I've proven. But it's so nice to hear you guys. And I don't even know, I think I know just about everything by now. And it's been 6 years. Unfortunately, I did get the shot because it was right after that I got sick and I knew something was up.
Yeah.
But the thing that scares me, and you brought it up a little bit ago about the vaccines. I have 2 little brand new babies in my family. They're grandbabies. And I'm so fearful. They listen to everything their doctor tells them. They do everything that their doctor tells them. They said, why would my doctor want to kill my baby or harm my baby? And I don't have answers for that.
Well, I don't think I don't think most doctors, I don't think that's their motivation, right? But they are motivated by money, which is why most of them became doctors, right? Why,
Oh,
when
I
we were
should.
young, why did everybody want to become a doctor? Because doctors grew up and they made tons of money and they drove nice cars and lived in nice houses and had boats, right? Well,
Yeah.
they have crippled the medical industry so much with insurance overreach and all, and they've decentralized a bunch of stuff and they've caused these doctors to lose, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue every year. So, what they need to look at is, one, I would point them to RFK. RFK is a Democrat. Okay, cool. You don't like Trump, orange man bad. Cool. Go listen to Tulsi Gabbard and Robert Kennedy Jr., who are both Democrats. They're registered Democrats, and they're on Trump's cabinet, and they're fighting a battle from a Democratic standpoint. And listen to what they have to say. Look up the vaccine schedule and the kickbacks that doctors get. If they get all 270 odd some on shots in a kid by the time they're 6 or 8 years old, they get
Oh,
like an $80,000 kickback. Well,
oh
I
my
don't think the
God.
doctor wants to particularly kill your kid, but I guarantee you he wants that $80,000 kickback. So he's going to push every shot, every vaccine, because he wants the money, because that money has been taken away from him through other instances. So, I don't particularly think all doctors are bad. My mother-in-law is a nurse. She's a hospice nurse. Her and I go around and around. They didn't just get the shot. They got at least one booster that I'm aware of. And I've had right here in my living room, I've had knockdown, drag out, like screaming fights with both my in-laws because they're Republicans, they're conservatives. She posted things about Trump that I would have never dreamed of posting. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she posted that. But yet we have a huge divide because she's in the medical world and she's like that. She's like, well, I asked my doctor, I was like, well, first of all, your doctor's, your doctor's not going to tell you the truth, especially if the hospital's getting kickbacks for patients being listed and diagnosed of dying of COVID, because it's a private hospital, it's a for-profit hospital, and you are a nurse that's been a nurse for 50 years. You're one of the highest paid people in the system. If they tell you, well, then don't you think being a hospice nurse where every single one of your patients dies
Yeah,
at
they're
some
gonna
point,
die.
don't you think that you would feel obligated to get a little of that kickback, that if every one of your patients that you poured your heart and soul into, but they died and then the hospital changed the death certificate that you wrote from died of natural causes or died of complications of pre-existing conditions to they died of COVID, so the hospital got a $32,000 kickback. I mean, if you knew that was true, then you would expect to get some of that money, or you would blow the whistle on them and you would burn the hospital down, metaphorically, with lawsuits. And she just won't go look because she doesn't want to know the truth. She knows what the truth is. She just doesn't want to acknowledge it. She doesn't want to prove it. So she simply won't go look. I don't think your pediatrician of your grandbabies wants your kids to die because they stop getting paid if that happens. But they sure want their money. So they're going to push whatever big
Well,
pharma tells them to.
here's another thing too, everybody. The schools get a kickback too. That's why they
Oh,
try to tell you if your kids aren't vaccinated or whatever, they can't come to school here. So if they get kids vaccinated, the schools get kickbacks too. So let that sink in.
just
And what was surprising to me was I went through and I got the documentation. So my children were no longer forced or mandated to get any vaccines. And when I went in fully expecting a huge fight. And when I went in to turn my paperwork, what I found out was that every single administrator in both of my kids' schools, because one goes to elementary school, one goes to middle school, every single one of the administrators in the office, all of their kids are exempt from vaccines. All of them. There
Oh,
wasn't
look at that.
there wasn't one teacher or one administrator that I talked to that their kids aren't exempt from future vaccines. I would challenge your family to go talk to the school system, go and talk to the secretaries, go talk to the principal, and just ask. I mean, are your kids exempt? Are they fully vaccinated? Because what you're going to find out is more of them are not vaccinated than are. But like Jenny said, the school gets paid. Schools got paid if they had a certain percentage of kids wearing masks. They got weekly kickbacks, weekly,
oh,
in
God.
the tune of tens of thousands of dollars a week, just to force our kids to wear masks, sitting in a classroom 6 feet apart. So again, it goes back to money.
That blows my mind. I did not know that. And my daughter, my oldest, she homeschools all 6 of her kids, and the oldest is now going to high school, and I'm petrified. I'm petrified. I have a girl that just graduated in 2019, and things weren't like this back then. It really amazes me how quickly everything has changed. And this vaccine thing is, it's just like the government. My husband says, why would the government ever harm us?
Yeah, right. Well, I think what
Oh
we're going to
my
see,
God.
what we're going to see with the vaccines and the media with the commercials and the schools, I think we're going to start seeing some change on that. So hang in there, Amy. All right, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mike Welter. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. And anybody, if you want to ask Dallas a question, please feel free to raise your hand so I can unmute your mic. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike Welter. Your mic is unmuted. Okay. All right. So let me see here, Dallas, if we got some questions here on the wall. All right. Tippy Top says, what do you think is happening with local governments and courts? Where will people? Oh, okay. And then the second question is from them. Where will people stay at world fairs? I have to wonder. Well, I think that's going to be within all 50s or within the different states, correct?
Yeah, my understanding is that each state will have like a focal point, but all 50 states will take part in it. But ask yourself this question: why has construction not slowed down at all in the last 8 years?
No shit. You would never know here in Arizona that we were ever in a recession. So they are spitting things out like no other. So
Where,
I agree with
where,
you, Dallas.
where I live, they're expanding roads, they're building hotels. I travel all over the country with my wrestling ministry and wrestling in general, and everywhere I go, there are brand new hotels being built left and right, seemingly in the middle of nowhere. Right, you just be driving down I-20 in the middle of nowhere, Louisiana, and all of a sudden you drive past 4 brand new hotels. There's no town nearby. There's no plant nearby. There's just 4 random hotels right by each other. And then you go down 20 or 30 more miles, there's 4 more new hotels. Every city that I've been in, I've driven from Texas to the tip of New Jersey the last 2 summers. We're about to do it again here in about 4 weeks. And it's completely green from the time I leave Texas to the time I get into New Jersey. Huge forests, huge rolling fields of grass and crops. But yeah, global warming is killing us. And if we don't all go electric, we're going to die in 2 years. But as I travel 1,500 miles across this country, from the middle of it all the way to the East Coast, there is nothing but construction. How is that humanly possible over the last 8 years, especially the last 4, if this isn't building to something bigger?
And everybody, I put that on the wall. Elon talking about Elon Musk. Elon Musk explains universal high income with AI. So check that out if you guys haven't seen it yet. Okay, so let me go to the next question here. Hang on a second. Let's see. Oh, and then what about the courts? Did you get that question about the courts? It says, oh, where's that? What do you think is happening with the local governments and courts?
Well, I think in this particular case, it has to start at the top. So I think the Supreme Court either has to come out and finally declare the Constitution the de facto law of the land, or the Supreme Court is going to be restructured and it's going to flow downhill from there, because the Supreme Court is the highest court in our land. It's maritime, but I think it has to start at the Supreme Court on the legal side of this. But if you listen to different people, supposedly in the background, there have been trainings and private meetings taking place literally on a weekly basis to get attorneys and judges and sheriffs up and running and fully knowledgeable of constitutional or common law. I get reports almost weekly about those events happening. There's all kinds of talk about the restored republic or the new republic or something like that. It's kind of not a shadow government, but like a secondary government, going back to the question a minute ago. How do we go to 10%? I mean, there's all kinds of talk about that government already kind of being established. And when the big government goes down, they're just going to slide this government into place so that the continuity of our functioning, citizenry. I don't know if I'm using the right words there, but our day-to-day life isn't going to come to a screeching halt for 6 months to a year while they retrain all these judges and attorneys and public officials, police and sheriffs. I think all that's happening. I think it's been happening for a long time, and it's just going to be out with the old and in with the new. And then, it's kind of the old, gladiator days of, the Colosseum in Rome. You know how you keep the masses docile and complacent. You entertain them. And so I think, I don't necessarily think that the World's Fair thing is a diabolical thing, but it's definitely going to help distract people as all this information comes flooding into the system.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, everybody. Dallas is here. If you have questions for him, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands. What's happening, everybody? Come on, you guys are normally chatty Cathy.
I've
All right.
answered all the questions.
I know, right? That's crazy. Okay, let's see. Red Hat. Do we have actual dates? Well, no, I can tell you no actual dates, everybody, because dates obvious are epic fail. I think for the World Fair, I don't know. Do you have an exact date for the World Fair, Dallas? I've just heard it's coming, but I don't know when.
The announcement possibly next week, but I don't think it really kicks off until July 4th. I mean, I think, or at least what I'm hearing is that that's kind of the formal kickoff of it, but I also don't know that to be a fact. It's just some things I hear.
Okay, so then watch everybody for Memorial Weekend, because Trump talks about that, and then I've heard, like Dallas said, around the 4th. I mean, I don't know about I haven't heard anything about a date being said for the World Fair on the 4th, but these are some dates to watch for, is what I'm hearing. Okay, so here's the rest of that question: Do we have actual dates for the World Fair? I haven't seen anything, and can't imagine these events would be pulled off together in 2 weeks. Do you think this has been pushed out to next year?
Not that I've heard, but again, I haven't heard hard definitive dates. But supposedly all the World Fairs were built in a matter of a year, and then they tore them all down. I don't think that's how it actually happened, but that's what we're told, right? It's like the Olympics, right? I mean, every town that becomes the host of the Olympics, within 4 to 6 years, most cities and towns completely redesign themselves, and they build all these huge hotels and sports venues for one 2-week period, and they get it done in a matter of months to years. So I don't know. I don't know if it's been going on in the background, and we just, we think it's going to be a new football stadium, but it's going to be the central hub of the World Fair. I don't know, but I'm just keeping my ears and my eyes open.
I was just say, keep your eyes and ears peeled, everybody. Okay, so we had some hands raised. Thank you, God. Wow, thank you. So Trump Train, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Hello, Jenny, and hello, Dallas.
Hello.
Okay, let me pitch this to you guys in regards to Trump traveling with all these CEOs. BlackRock, we heard, purchased the Panama Canal. What is your thoughts in regards to going like Executive Order 13818? Do you think that Trump overtook all these companies and that is possibly the sovereign fund that Elon's talking about?
Yes, I think that's exactly what the sovereign fund is it's the confiscation and redistribution of all of these companies' wealth that took place in voter fraud, voter manipulation, and child and human trafficking. I think they've been confiscated just like the executive order says, and I think the fund is a way to redistribute it back into the hands of we the people, is what I believe.
Dallas, now Qatar has passed a soccer ball off to President Trump. What do you think of that?
Well, he gave the soccer ball that Putin gave him to Pam Bondi. Sorry, hold on. He passed off the soccer ball that Putin gave him to Pam Bondi, and now he's got a new soccer ball. I think it's just leading up for disclosure, is what I think. But when and how, I mean, that's the magic question. But I think we're getting so very close.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Trump Train. Okay, Missy Bell, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hi Dallas. Hi Jenny.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm gonna ask something kind of like not on topic, and I hope that you could help me. I've been trying to get through to this new medicine, whatever it is that you guys are doing on PPN, and I've sent 3 texts and I haven't heard anything back. But I'm very sick, and I really need to try something, and I'm not ready to do anything as far as business sake because I
Yeah.
am so sick.
No, that's fine. Can you send me a DM here on Telegram?
Yes, I can.
Send me a DM with your name and your phone number. And I know that we've been trying to go through them as fast as we can. We got a little bit more excitement than we kind of planned on. But send me a DM, and if nothing else, I'll reach out to you personally. But I'll make sure that somebody touches base with you in the next 24 hours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
If you don't mind me asking, Missy Bell, where are you within the states? Do you don't have to tell me, just like what state are you in?
I'm in Indiana.
Okay. I was gonna say, if you're anywhere close to John Baxter in Florida, his facilities are free. You could probably you would be able to go into there, but you're not close to that. So darn it. Because yeah, he that would have been a good place for you to go, because those, you go down to his facilities and you can use his technologies for free. And I don't know what's going on with you, but I'm going to say a prayer for you and pray that you get better, my friend.
For sure.
Thank you.
You there, Jenny?
Oh, I'm talking to a blue mic. Go ahead, Janet. Sam, your mic is unmuted. It's a day. It's one of those days. Go ahead, Janet.
Thank you so much. My question
You're
is on
welcome.
education. Dallas, what do you happening over the summer, possibly with the changes in education, elementary, high school, college, everything? Do you see any big things happening this summer?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say this summer, but I definitely see in the next year or so. I mean, there's all kinds of talk about going to a quantum education system, which will be head and shoulders above where we are right now. I mean, they use so much online teaching and studying already, but I definitely think that will be one of the first like radical changes that takes place once everything kind of gets launched and revealed is overhauling. I think we've already seen huge steps in dismantling the education, the teachers union or whatever that Trump disbanded, the Department of Education, sorry, and putting it back in the hands of the states, which is where it should have been all along, according to the Constitution. But I think we're seeing big movements happening. But there's, in my opinion, there's going to be a huge overhaul of the general education system. I mean, since the inception of the Department of Education, we have done nothing but decline in world rankings, world test scores, math and science. I mean, we were at the top, one or two. I think now we're like 15th or something like that in the world in our general math education and our general science education of our students. So the Department of Education has done nothing but dumb down our students and our kids. We saw that, we saw towards the end of our education, we saw dumbing down. We went to standardized testing, and you can't graduate if you don't pass this test. Well, what is it? What's this test about? Oh, it's just a cognitive test to see how well you follow directions and memorize and regurgitate information that's not relative to world events. So I think we're going to see a huge overhaul. How fast that happens, that's the part I don't know, but I would expect it would be pretty swift once everything is fully released. But I think the steps that have already been taken process, or the process that's already been taking place, is a huge step in the right direction.
Thank you, Dallas.
Considering that I have 3 grandkids in college, what changes do you see in the near future for college level education?
Well, one, I think we're already realizing that having a college degree was a little bit of a scam. But I think that there's going to be a slight gap, right, in the adaptation of this new technology and this new knowledge. We're all going to have to learn new things. We're going to have to figure, take advantage of these new, teaching systems. I mean, now they have earbuds that you put in your ear, and it instantaneously translates foreign languages and then gives you the words to say back, right? I mean, the technology is already so advanced. Is it going to beam it straight into our brains? I don't know. That would be cool. Kind of like the Matrix, just plug us in and all of a sudden we know Kung Fu, right? But I think there's going to be a little bit of a gap, especially on those of us that are a little bit older, completely out of the education system. We're going to have to learn to use this technology and benefit from it. But I think those kids that are in college right now or just came out, I mean, they're primed and ready to actually learn something, because let's be honest, they didn't learn anything in their 4 years of college except how to party and vote for Democrats. But I think they'll transition real fast, real smooth. I think our younger children, like my 12-year-old and my 8-year-old, they're going to run circles around me when it all comes down, when it comes down to it. But I think it will happen fairly quickly. I mean, we think a year is a long time. It really isn't. You know what I mean? If it didn't happen until 2026, well, guess what? We're halfway through 2025. So we just got to keep our fingers crossed.
Amen. Thank you, Dallas. Thank you, Janet. All right, let's see. Who do we got next? Trump won again. Go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
What do you mean again? This is the first time I've talked in a long time.
No, that's
when I
what
was
you,
saying,
that's what it says. It comes up here. It says Trump
oh,
won
okay,
again.
the way you said it, it's like Trump won again. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh no,
First of
you're
all,
good.
I want to thank you and all the other people that are, in your positions that take the time to help us all out, uh, to see our way through this mess that we've been in for the last, well, forever. But anyway, uh,
You're
my
welcome.
question is, my question is going to circle back to those vaccines, which is my pet peeve. Uh, I did not have my daughter vaccinated over 45 years ago for the simple reason I thought there was something the matter with those things back then. But the question that I have is, and I don't know if you can answer it or not, are these people, the doctors, whether they knew it or not, they didn't do their homework by not checking into it, are they all going to have their day in court, so to speak, to correct their the way of their the ills of their ways? It really gets under my craw whenever I hear anything about these vaccines, because they've been doing it to us for even not, hey, I'm in my mid 70s and I got some of those damn things too.
Yeah. I look at the original Nuremberg trial. The people that were executed more than anybody else were doctors and nurses. So because they willingly complied with atrocities towards humanity. It wasn't the head doctors. All those doctors got shipped to the United States in Project Paperclip to become heads of colleges and heads of programs, in different companies and things like that. But the general doctors and the general nurses were the ones that were executed in Nuremberg, the first Nuremberg, and I think we're going to see some similar consequences. Because there's more and more whistleblowers coming out, especially nurses, because I mean, if you know anything about the medical world, nurses do all of the work. I mean, the nurses are usually the most educated, if not, some of the highest educated people in the hospital, and they're the ones that are doing the day-to-day, minute by minute, execution and care for patients. But there are more and more whistleblowers coming out saying that they would have a patient that was in the hospital doing perfectly fine. They would go home for their night shift. They'd come back the next morning and they'd be ventilated and die 2 days later, right? When they left, they were breathing on their own. They were joking, laughing, cutting up, going to the bathroom, and then they leave for 12 hours. And they come back and they're on a ventilator and they're dead 2 days later. More and more of those stories are coming out, and they're going to be held accountable. I hope that there's a little bit of fairness, but it's kind of like getting a speeding ticket and going to court, going before a judge and going, well, I just didn't know the speed limit changed. Well, ignorance isn't a defense, right? And so, I believe they are going to be held accountable, but I hope there's some fairness that goes into that. But I definitely think they're going to be held accountable.
Well, I've heard along the line that the nurses that have stood up to them, and those nurses need to get some kind of recognition as well. I mean, on the other end,
Well,
because
100%. Most of them got
they,
fired.
yeah, exactly. They got fired or they had to quit their job because they didn't want to comply. Now, are those people going to get some kind of attaway,
Well,
whereas
that's already taken place. I mean, there was a woman that was forced to be fired or resign from her big corporate job, and as soon as it kind of ended, she sued and she won $250 million. I mean, there are lawsuits or court filings, coming to completion almost on a daily basis, where people are fighting back against the mandates and against the forced, compliance with these non-rules and non-laws, and they are winning in the court system, which means that it was never legal to begin with. Everything they did, I tell the story all the time. Like, I remember walking through airports. It is federal law that you comply with the 6 foot distancing regulation and that you wear a mask at all times. No, it's not a law. It was never a law. It was a mandate. It was a recommendation made by a psychopath named Anthony Fauci, who just literally couldn't come up with anything better than 6 feet, knowing full well that masks are what killed 60% of the people during the Spanish influenza, because that was his dissertation paper. He wrote his dissertation for his doctorate about how the masks killed more people during the Spanish influenza than the flu or the vaccine, which the vaccine killed the second most. They either died of the vaccine or they died of bacterial pneumonia from the masks.
Yeah, those things are dirty. And remember, everybody, you cannot mandate something that is not law. So that was like Dallas said, it was a recommendation by a psychopath. So, and we are seeing, unfortunately, we're seeing the now after effects of the jab. And, you know, it's just, we were told this was going to happen, everybody. So I think we need to prepare for it, because we're probably going to see a lot more, because there's still people lining up in those lines to get, well, not really lines, but they're still going out there getting their boosters. So I just shake my head at that. I can't believe that, especially with all the truth that's coming out. All right, I'm going to take 2 more questions here because I got another show with Captain Kyle I'm going to do. So we are all Trumps today. Go ahead, your mic is unmuted.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Dallas and Jenny. I'm a little nervous because I feel like I'm listening for a long time, but never get to speak. So a couple things. I have a question about HOAs and how that's going to all play out. And then the other is more of a comment, and what y'all think is when Trump talks about no tax on tips. I almost feel like that's an acronym, TIPS. I don't know what it stands for necessarily, because I can't believe that you would just have no tax on a very specific group of people and the rest of us all are having to pay. Anyways, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, real quickly, I want to say something real quickly, Dallas, real quick. Tax on tips. I think, remember, everybody, the taxes, Trump keeps talking about taxes, the IRS is going to be done. You know what I'm saying? What's going to happen is it's going to come within the states. I believe there's going to be like a 14 to 17% state tax that we're going to have to do. But I think it's going to be, it's going to be universal. I mean, taxes are voluntary. There's a form in your tax forms that says that. So go ahead, Dallas.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think that, you know, who's going to argue with tax on tips and tax on overtime and tax on Social Security, even though the Democrats lost their minds about Social Security. But I do think that there's some subtle wordplay there because Trump, Elon Musk, Dan Scavino, the director of the finance, whatever, have all said the IRS needs to be abolished, and we just need to do away with income tax completely, right? But I think it's just it's a talking point. As far as the first part, I think, oh shoot, what was the first part?
HOAs.
HOAs, yes. One, completely unconstitutional. And that's verified by the Supreme Court ruling a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. And I think it was Chevron versus the EPA or something like that, or Wisconsin versus EPA, where the Supreme Court said that non-government entities, institutions do not have the authority to make up regulations, enforce them, and most importantly, they do not have the legal constitutional right to collect debts and fines. And what is an HOA? An HOA is a non-governmental entity that arbitrarily makes up rules and regulations and then fines you, and then subsequently goes behind and collects these fines. It is 100% unconstitutional, dictated by our Supreme Court. So I have an HOA. I haven't gotten a fine in many, many years. They fined me one time for my grass being too long, and I get my grass cut every week. I was like, I think you took a picture of the wrong lawn, but we can use that Supreme Court ruling to tell them to go jump off a cliff, because they cannot arbitrarily make up regulations, and most importantly, they cannot fine you, and more importantly, they do not have the authority or the ability to collect fines, and that is directly in the Supreme Court ruling. Again, I think it's Wisconsin versus EPA, or it's some state versus EPA.
It's interesting that you say that because we actually had a situation where we've been fined for leaving our trash barrels out too long. I mean, ridiculous things. But very recently, I would say within the last year, they came back and they cited a case. I live in Virginia. They cited a case in the Virginia courts that it was about Christmas lights or some ridiculousness, and they weren't able to fine us. Then they tried to pass a referendum that we would vote to actually be fined, which seems absurd to me. And they were spending our money and giving bonuses on people if they voted for the referendum. I mean, it was absolutely corrupt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would take in that Supreme Court ruling and go, show me in the Constitution, either state or federal, where you have the right, the authority to make mandates or make up, whatever, and then collect fines. Because it's very clearly stated in that Supreme Court ruling that if nothing else, they absolutely cannot collect fines. That is 100% unconstitutional.
Thank you,
you so much.
Dallas. Thank you. All right, John C., your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hello, Jenny. Hello, Dallas. Love
Hello.
what you're doing. I just had a comment more than anything that I wanted to talk about. To the previous lady's question, NASARA document. It's in the NASARA documents on that the IRS taxes are going away, and it did talk about what Jenny talked about, 14 to 15%. I watched I Am, which is used to be a sidekick with Mike Penny, but now has his own show with Ty and Whamma Jamma. We Are One. If you want, they follow the decodes on Q and everything, and I really resonate with them, and I recommend watching their show because they bring a lot of great information. They believe, well, Trump spoke on it. He did a video 3 years prior, and Derek Johnson actually posted it on his Instagram and talks about it in his Laws and Order, that starting May 26th this year, that's when the celebration of the 250 years celebration starts. So from the decodes last night from I Am and them, they're talking that be prepared. There is a scare event. They are decoding, thinking 2 scare events of some sort. One coming here sometime now between Memorial Day and June 14th, and in the next window of June 14th. But they believe from the decodes, from what they've done their research, June 14th is actually Flag Day, Trump's birthday, but they believe that's when NASARA is going to be announced. And that's the only comment I want. But to all of it,
Thank you, John.
we can't really worry about what's going on. Let's focus on, let's seek the Father's face, seek his face.
Amen.
And go back
Amen.
to the, our roots of God. And that's where it is. And the Lord gave me a scripture just to share real quick. And I know you're going here. It's Philippians 4:6. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, give thanksgiving to where we're at in this moment, and excited, and requests be made to known as God, because God is in control of all of it. And let's give him
Amen.
praise and glory today. Amen. Thank you.
Amen to that. Thank you, John. And yes, I did a show with 107 last night, everybody. He did say that America has not seen the scare event yet, or, something's coming. So whatever that is, and, Trump does refer to Memorial Weekend a lot. His birthday is June 17th, and they're doing that big parade, or, whatever they're doing down there in DC, where they're complaining about, all the military equipment, I don't know, whatever. But anywho, so just everybody head on a swivel, no fear, everybody. God is in control, but at the end of the day, it has to happen this way, because it was like Grandmother of Five said earlier, so many people are still awake. However, I do believe a good portion of humanity and the United States is awake. There's more awake than there's not. Let's just put it that way. But that little percentage is a big number still too. So hang tight, everybody. I'm gonna continue to bring these shows as I can. Who knows what we're gonna see, if we're gonna see this EBS? I don't know. We just got to keep rolling with the punches on a daily basis, everybody. So with that, everybody, Dallas is here every 2 weeks, every Wednesday, same time, same place. I'm going to put his videos and pictures up on the wall from his wrestling match over the weekend. And Dallas, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and just remember, the scare event is not for us. God was that was a great scripture, by the way. My men's Bible study, we spent about 6 months in the book of Ephesians. And that is a great one. There's so much in there. Ephesians 4 is jam-packed. Ephesians 6 is even more, but the scare event is not for us. God was very specific with me about a year ago, because the scare event is not for us. So when it happens, it's going to look scary. It's going to look like all hell's breaking loose.
Yep.
Just know it's not for us. Hunker down. Hopefully you got a couple weeks of water and food. And I'm not saying you have to black out all your windows and and live in your basement, but just hunker down. Let whatever chaos erupts, because they're still paying people to protest and destroy Teslas and crap like that. Just, it's not for us. It's for them. And it's
Yep.
our job is to be a pillar of stability and just common sense in that time of chaos and distress. So just keep that in mind. It's not for us. It's for those that are refusing to wake up.
Yes, the end is for them, everybody. It's not for us. So with that, everybody come back here in about 30 minutes. A little bit more than 30 minutes. Captain Kyle will be here at 5:30 Central Standard Time. So I got to get prepared for that, everybody. So come back, see us here for Captain Kyle. Dallas will be back in 2 weeks. Dallas, congratulations on your ministry, your wrestling ministry, and your win. That's awesome. I'm going to post your pictures if you don't mind. Is that cool?
Absolutely. I love it. Again, EphesiansProWrestling.org is the main website, and then you can watch on YouTube Ephesians Pro Wrestling, or Facebook Ephesians Pro Wrestling.
Thank you, Dallas, and God bless you and your family. We'll see you in 2 weeks. God bless you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back here for Captain Kyle's. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dallas.